Welcome to Success Weekly with James Tharris, a weekly dose of thought-provoking ideas and helpful tips on improving your mindset. And now, here's your host, James Tharris.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Success Weekly. I'm James Tharris, and we have been working from the book Psycho-Cybernetics. And today we're going to be discussing some information contained in Chapter 12. And Chapter 12's title is called Do-It-Yourself Tranquilizers, which Bring Peace of Mind. And basically what the chapter is about is about learning to stay relaxed under pressure, stay calm under pressure. And I'll read a couple of these the quotes here, and then I'll tie them into some of the things that we do here in the martial arts that you might be able to recognize, and maybe some of these things you're already doing, or maybe you can add some of these thought processes into your own life. Anyway, here we go. This says, you absolutely cannot feel angry, fearful, anxious, insecure, unsafe, as long as your muscles remain perfectly relaxed. Relaxation of muscles brings about mental relaxation, or a peaceful, relaxed attitude. I mean, you probably notice when you get angry, you grit your teeth a little bit. You even talk through your teeth when you get angry sometimes, and you begin tightening up your fists and your shoulders, and you start tensing muscles around your body, and that kind of gets you worked up into a frenzied state. So if we can learn how to calm those things down and stay relaxed, even in the face of something very threatening, then we have full access to our mental capacity. What happens is when we get tensed up and tightened up, our mind also tenses up and tightens up, and it doesn't work very well. It's kind of like trying to drive a car with no oil in it. It might run for a little while, but it's eventually going to lock up. And the same thing happens when our muscles are tight and our brains are tight. We can't use the full faculty of our brain. It's not working smoothly like it would be if we were relaxed. And that's why it's important to learn how to stay relaxed, even in the face of some stressful situations. I don't know how, let's say, a daycare center worker handles all those screaming kids for 8 hours a day, but they've found a way to do it. I guess they've learned how to stay calm under pressure and just realize what some of the crying really represents. It might mean that the child's tired, needs a break, needs a rest, or something else happened, and they've learned how to kind of put labels on different sounds and noises and whatever some of the kids do, as saying, okay, that's what these are. They're compartmentalizing it, so I don't need to be stressed about it, because heck, when I was 4 years old, wasn't I doing the very same thing? And so they're able to stay calm under that. It says here, protect yourself from disturbing stimuli by maintaining the relaxed attitude. Have you ever tried arguing with somebody who just doesn't want to argue back with you? It's very difficult to have an argument unless they get heated and want to argue back. If you've ever been the person who's upset and you start to argue with your spouse or your sibling or a friend, and they stay calm, cool, and collected, you almost feel silly from losing your cool, because they're in control. And it's kind of like what they do with the matadors against the bulls. They get the bulls to see red. They get the bulls angry. The bull charges them, and then they step to the side and say "Olé!" And then eventually they kill the bull, and that's terrible. But it's the same thought process. They get the bull angry enough that he can't think clearly, and then he just comes charging ahead. And that's when the matador, who's able to keep his calm composure and stay relaxed, he's able to step out of the way at the last moment, knowing exactly what the outcome is going to be. It's the same thing with, you go into or you see it in the movies, I guess. You go into a bar and you see the big bar fight break out. The guy that's the drunk one is the easiest one to defeat, because he's not, well, I guess physically he's relaxed, but mentally he's so relaxed he can't function at all, and he's very slow. And the person who's not, drunk, they have kind of an edge over that person, because they're able to think clearly, as long as they don't get raging mad. And on the same subject, a drunk person falling out of a chair is less likely to injure themselves than somebody who's not been drinking, because there's less fear when you've been inebriated and your brain is not functioning regularly, so you're less fearful about what's happening around you. You tend to stay relaxed, and that's why a lot of times you don't see a drunk person that falls down doesn't really injure themselves a lot of times. That's because they're able to stay relaxed. And that's what we teach in the martial arts, is how to stay relaxed in the face of fear. For us, it might be a student breaking a board, and they're thinking to themselves, oh my goodness, I'm going to kick this piece of wood here, and what happens if the wood doesn't break? That's going to hurt. And they're allowing themselves, they get fearful and anxious, and they tighten up and tense up, and then they're less able to really put the power into that technique. So it ends up being a self-fulfilling prophecy, and they end up hurting their foot instead of breaking the board. Whereas if they just relax and commit to that technique and believe in it, the board shatters, their foot's fine, and they feel elated afterwards instead of fearful. So just something that we teach, and that's one of the reasons we teach meditation. So at the beginning of every class, we sit down for a brief period of 30 seconds, 45 seconds of meditation, just kind of relax and clear the mind so that when we get into class, we can enjoy it. And at the end of class, we do the same thing after it's got a cool down. After all that activity and high energy things, we come back to a place of centeredness, and we calm ourselves down and relax again before we leave for the evening. So it's very, very helpful, and very healthy practice, meditation is. And that's a great way to help learn how to stay relaxed in situations. It also says here, pause 5 seconds and smile before picking up the phone when it rings. Because if you don't do that and you just pick up the phone, you may not realize it, but you may be talking in a very stern-looking face, and that's what's going to come across in your voice. And that's going to create tension in your communication style. But if you smile, as they say, it takes more muscles to frown than it does to smile. This is a case where that's true. If you smile when you're talking on the phone, I'm smiling right now, you probably can hear the difference in the tone of my voice and the sound and the levity of my voice, as opposed to just how it was a few seconds ago where I was talking like this, right? And if I smile, it kind of changes my whole personality. I don't feel rigid any longer. I feel great, and I'm lighthearted and happy to talk to you. And that's part of learning how to deal with your stress. Okay, now it says here, how to build your own psychic umbrellas. Would you like to know how to do that? Of course you would. The key to the matter of whether you are disturbed or tranquil, fear or composed, is not the external stimulus, whatever it may be, but your own response and reaction. Your own response is what makes you feel fearful, anxious, and insecure. If you do not respond at all, but just let the telephone ring, it's impossible for you to feel disturbed, regardless of what is happening around you. So I was kind of hearkening back to that last one. But so true. Okay, let's see. I think I've got one more here. Two more here. Okay, it says, stop fighting straw men. In addition to those negatives which actually exist in the environment, we impose our own negatives. This or that may happen. What if such and such happens? When we worry, we form mental pictures, adverse mental pictures of what may exist in the environment or what may happen. We then respond to these negative pictures as if they were present reality. Remember, your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one that is vividly imagined. Have you ever vividly imagined somebody in your closet after watching a scary movie, and you think just for some reason, just because you watched that movie, all of a sudden you're more in tune with what could possibly happen, and you're afraid to even check in your closet when it's a silly, crazy, unfounded feeling you have, and you got that by watching the scary movie. Well, we do that a lot in our lives about a lot of different things, and it's unhealthy. So we've got to learn how to stop scaring ourselves with these things that really aren't there. It's the fear, false evidence appearing real. So, okay, here's the last thing for this. I'm going to give you the practice exercise here. Create in your imagination a vivid mental picture of yourself sitting quietly, composed, unmoved, letting your telephone ring as outlined earlier in this chapter. Then in your daily activities carry over the same peaceful, composed, unmoved attitude by remembering this mental picture. Say to yourself, I am letting the phone ring. Whenever you are tempted to obey or respond to some fear bell or anxiety bell, I guess that's the period. Say to yourself, I am letting the telephone ring whenever you're tempted to obey or respond to some fear bell or anxiety bell. And that could be your Facebook, somebody commented on it, and you feel like you have to check it right now, or you have an email that just came in and told you that. So it's learning how to not feel the pressure and stress of those things. Let's see here. See yourself going through your daily tasks one by one, calmly, composed, unhurried, in spite of the pressures of a busy day. See yourself maintaining the same constant, stable course in spite of the various hurry bells and pressure bells in your environment. See yourself in various situations which have in the past upset you. Only now you remain set, settled, and poised by not responding. So sometimes, again, it's like the crying child syndrome. Sometimes it's better to just let them cry and not respond to it, because they're learning that crying and throwing a tantrum is not always going to get them what they want. And so that's it's a way we learn and the way we teach other people through our responses. And don't you always respect somebody who can kind of stay cool under pressure? That's a difficult task. But for people who can do it, I think the rest of us really respect being around a person who can kind of keep their cool under pressure. And so that's really what the chapter is telling you to do. And it's about staying relaxed and learning how to stay relaxed under pressure, because that's really what, life is a competition, and people are going to be jockeying for positions in front of you and next to you and pushing you out of the way and trying to derail your thoughts and your dreams and your ideas. And it's about you just staying calm under pressure, understanding what's going on, why they said that, why they're doing that, what's the ulterior motive, and not letting that stiffen you up, not letting that get your goat, get you riled up so that you say something you regret later, or you respond on emotion. So it's better to stay calm and cool and make your decision without any emotion attached to it. I mean, that's the same thing they talk about as far as buying a home. You can get, when you buy a house, you don't ever go to buy a house on emotion, because you'll end up paying full price for it, or a heck of a lot more than you could have if you weren't emotional about it. If you're going house shopping and you're looking at 5 different houses, and they tell you, and you put an offer on that first one and it's a little bit lower than what they wanted, and they say no, well, no big deal, because I've got 4 other houses I'm looking at. So I'm not put off by the fact that they turned my offer down. I'll make another offer, and maybe I'll make it slightly higher to the next person, and I get the same thing until I find the house that I want at the price that I want. That can only happen when you take the emotion out of it. But we walk into the house and we think, oh man, that would be a great place for my office. That would be a great place for the kids' bedroom. Oh, look at the kitchen. I think I'd like to do this with this. And we let the real estate agent hear that and see that. They know that it's an emotional buying temperature that we have, and they're going to take advantage of that. And in fact, any salesperson will. So it's important to stay unemotional about things like that, because it'll cost you more. And you understand how that's kind of a mental connection there. It'll cost you more, right? It might cost you more money, but it also might cost you more in terms of losing respect of people, because you couldn't stay calm under pressure and you blurted something out in anger. So it costs you more. But if you stay relaxed and cool and calm under pressure, it costs you less. It's kind of like the body's flexibility. If your body is flexible, it takes a lot less effort to throw a punch or a kick than it does if your body's stiff and rigid, right? So one of the first things we try to do with students is to help them develop better flexibility. When they're more flexible, their bodies move easier, they're able to learn quicker, and they're able to excel and develop skills that they couldn't develop until that flexibility was part of their makeup, right? So we've got to be mentally flexible as well and learn how to relax under pressure. That's the message for today. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you got anything out of this of value, please let me know in the comments, and please like and share with friends and family.
That's all for this week. Tune in next week for another episode of Success Weekly. Do you have an idea you'd like James to talk about in an upcoming episode? Post your comments and be sure to share this podcast with friends.